All right, well, it's 9:03 here in Vancouver. It's 12:03 in Toronto, so I think we can get started. Marcelo, do you want me to start right away, or you want to say something?
I was planning to introduce you, but if,
Oh, sure. Please
if
go ahead.
that's
Yeah.
okay with you. So we are really thankful for having Alex Rasumov doing our usual SNUG meeting today. Actually, let me start the recording before I forget. So Alex is the training and visualization coordinator at Westgrid. He's also the team lead at the visualization working team or working group at Compute Canada. And he is, I would say, the main responsible for these visualization contest competitions that we have had in the past, what, Alex, 4 or 5 years right now?
Yeah, 4 years. It's the
4
fifth
years.
year.
This is the 5th year. There you go. And in this particular occasion, we are going global because we are merging efforts with the IEEE Visualization Conference, which also has an annual competition. So it's a really big deal, I would say, especially for any visualization enthusiast. So Alex is going to tell us a little bit more about the challenge, the data, and probably try to answer any questions that anyone may have. So thank you so much, Alex, for doing this.
Sure. Thank you, Marcelo. So welcome, everybody. It's going to be a fairly short talk, so I'm going to walk you through the live website. I'm going to paste the website address into the chat. So I just pasted it into the chat. It's civis2021.netlify.app. And I'll be showing just various pages from the website. So again, my name is Alex Razumov. I'm a visualization training coordinator with Westgrid, and Westgrid is part of Compute Canada. So I'm based in Vancouver on the West Coast, 3 hours behind you. And I see Ramses is trying to join. So yeah, probably he has technical issues. So these contests, this is the Scientific Visualization Contest 2021. And so once again, the website is civis2021.netlify.app. And all communication for this contest is going to be via the Google group. So if you want to receive messages in your mailbox, you can join the Google group, but it's a private Google group. So you need to email me. Basically, send me an email at alexrazumov@westgrid.ca. So if you go to the website, if you click on the very last page, contact, and if you click on my name, main contact, this will open up a mail link, and it will ask you, well, prompt you to send a message to me. So send me a message if you want to join the Google group and if you want to see the announcements for the contest in your mailbox. All right. As Marcelo mentioned, we've been running the visualization contest for several years now. So we started in 2016 in Westgrid in Compute Canada. And for the past 4 years, it was a Canada-wide contest. So each year, typically, we have a data set from a numerical simulation, and we ask people, we put it online, and we ask people to visualize this data set and answer some questions. So in the past, our visualization competitions were short, typically 2 months. And this year is different. So this year we decided to partner with IEEE. So IEEE is a large international organization, and they have a body dedicated to visualization. So each year they have a big conference. It's typically end of October. So this year, this past October, it was online due to obviously the COVID restrictions. But next year, they're still hoping that they will have it in person. So it's supposed to be in Louisiana and in New Orleans, and maybe it will be online, maybe it will be in person. We don't know yet. And as part of this conference, they have a session dedicated to this visualization contest. And each year they have a new topic. So as you can see, it started in 2004, and it's been running since then almost every year. So last year, for example, they had a contest data set, numerical simulation of transport mechanisms in the Red Sea. Before this, it was cosmological simulation. Before this, it was a deep water asteroid impact hitting the ocean, et cetera, et cetera. So these are fairly interesting data sets, and each year they try to have a different topic. So this year it's Earth's mantle convection. The data set is coming from, I want to mention that unlike in previous years, so where in Compute Canada's visualization contest, we had only 2 months participants had only 2 months to work on the data set. This year it's different. And actually, if you go to submission tab, you will see that the data set is available now, so you can actually download it. And the deadline for submissions is end of July. So people have, 6, 7 months to work on this, and we hope that this will attract a sufficiently large audience, and we'll have many good submissions. So the data set, let me actually go here. I click on the data, and the data set is coming from the research group from the University of Toronto. So courtesy of Russell Piskelweg and Hossein Shanaz from the Department of Earth Sciences at the University of Toronto. And it's a data set modeling numerical model of convection in the Earth's mantle. So it starts from the Earth's surface and then goes to 2,800 kilometers depth. And the data set is available right here. So if you go to this website, computation website, click on data, and scroll down, there will be links to the data set. So the simulation itself was run on Niagara cluster. And the simulation was using a nested yin-yang grid. So it's basically two semi-spherical grids, but then they complement each other so that the entire data set is on a spherical grid. And it's not very high resolution, so this is done on purpose. So the entire data, the resolution is 180 by 201 by 360, and I can't remember which one is radial dimension. I'm afraid to lie now, but yeah, I forgot that. And there are a number of variables. So there's temperature, 3 Cartesian velocity components, so Vx, Vy, Vz, thermal conductivity, thermal expansivity. So these are the variables related to the equation of state, temperature anomaly, and then density anomaly, right? So these are all defined on a spherical grid, and then there are 251 time steps. So each time step is, the file for each time step is roughly 400 megabytes, and we kept it this small on purpose so that you can actually download it to your laptop, your home computer, and visualize it there. So you don't really need any supercomputing resources to visualize the data set. It's fairly small. So the entire data set compressed is all 251 time steps is 80 gigabytes. All right. So data set is stored in netcdf file format. So it's netcdf climate and forecast convention. What this means is if you download these files, and so these files actually arrange into 25 gzip tar files. So if you can just download the first one, so each one is roughly 3 gigabytes. And you can just download the first one and start playing with it. And so the first one, when you unpack it, you will see there are 10 files, and then each file has those 8 variables, 8 scale variables. So in order to reconstruct the velocity component, you actually have, so the velocity component, the velocity field is a 3-dimensional vector, but here is given as a 3 velocity component. So you actually have to reconstruct the 3-dimensional vector. So once you download the data set, let's say the first file, you unpack it, and you can actually take any file from this archive, and you can load it directly into ParaView. So ParaView is the industry standard for 3-dimensional scientific visualization. So it's a tool that we use all the time in Compute Canada. And all you need to do is just install ParaView on your computer, download the first data set, the first file, and then unpack it and load one of the files inside into ParaView, and it should load automatically, so you should not have any problems. If you experience any problem, just let me know, send me an email. And once again, to find me, you can simply go to contact, and then here's a list to my email address. Just click on this link, and it will prompt you to send an email to myself. So load this file into ParaView, and you'll need to, one thing that you'll need to do is use the calculator filter in ParaView to assemble the 3-dimensional velocity vector. So this is really easy to do. And of course, you can load this data into other, into other tools. So it's netcdf. It should be understood natively by many different libraries and many different packages. So if you want to load this data into Python, there are 2 ways you can do this. So here we list the commands in Python. So one is using an X-array package. So X-array is a package in Python for working with multidimensional arrays, and it will just understand this file no problem. And so here is how you print the actual 3-dimensional data, 3-dimensional arrays inside X-array. And also you can use the classical netcdf4 Python interface. So you'll need to install netcdf4 library, and then you can simply load it. And so the interface is slightly different compared to X-array, but the idea is the same. We'll get NumPy arrays essentially underneath, and then you can actually print these NumPy arrays. if you want to load your data set into Visit, I find that Visit will not natively, not sure why, but natively it will not understand this file format. But there are various workarounds. So one of them is underneath in Visit, it uses Python scripting, and you can use one of these libraries to load this data into a NumPy array, and then inside Visit's Python, you can actually convert it from NumPy to VDK data structure and then visualize it inside Visit. All right. So let me go to the data description. Actually, I'll go to tasks. I click on tasks. And so here's some description.
Sorry for interrupting. If anyone has questions, please post in the chat and we can address that there.
Yeah, or feel free to unmute yourself and ask by audio. So the science behind the simulation is described there are two places. One of them, if you click on tasks, and we'll basically walk you through the tasks that we want you to do. And the idea is that we want you to, well, first of all, it's a visualization contest. So we want you to obviously create pretty pictures and animations. But more importantly, we want you to think of the science behind this data set and try to answer some questions. So what is happening here? It's a model of Earth's mantle convection, right? So if I click, I'll actually click on the title page. So here you see a movie. And then here we have convection in the Earth's mantle. So the simulation covers the mantle from the surface of the Earth down to 2,800 kilometers depth. And here there are two phase transitions. So one is a phase transition around 600 kilometers depth. So 600 kilometers depth is right here. And this phase transition is caused by the endothermic equation of state transition. And it's been known for 4 decades. So it's a classical transition in geophysics. And then there's a new transition at 1,600 kilometers. Well, actually it goes from 1,600 kilometers down to the core mantle boundary, 2,800 kilometers. And this is a second transition. It's been suggested that it is due to the ion spin transition. So ion, as in the element ion, spin transition in the low mantle. So what this gives you is it gives you this complex flow pattern with cold sinking slabs and hot rising plumes. And you have some interesting things happening at these two boundaries, at 600 kilometers and below 1,600 kilometers. So if you click on tasks on the website, it actually goes through this physics, and it tells you how you can describe various variables. So for example, can you use the temperature anomaly? So the temperature anomaly, it's actually here, I have a picture from ParaView. On the left, you see the temperature anomaly. On the right, you see the spin-induced density anomaly. So these are calculated in 2 different ways. So don't be confused about it. So the way the temperature anomaly is computed, at least that's my understanding, is in the numerical model, at each depth, they calculate the azimuthally and latitudinally, latitude and longitude directions. They calculate the average temperature at each depth. And then the density anomaly is computed as the local temperature minus that average temperature. And so it's plotted here on the left at 2 different time steps. So the top and the bottom time steps are separated by 20 million years. And then on the right, you have the density induced, spin transition induced density anomaly. And it's calculated differently. So it's calculated using the equation of state, right? Not the average density at each depth, but the equation of state. And basically what it shows you interesting things happening due to spin transition. So if you take a look at this region right here, so I hope you can see my mouse cursor. Mouse pointer. So here we have an interesting region where you have a coal sinking slab and is going down. So it starts right at the 600 kilometer transition, right? So there's a big mass moving downwards. And then this mass, so as it sinks into the low mantle, well, mid mantle, it becomes less heavy relative to surroundings, right? So it gains negative buoyancy. So that means that it slows down and eventually it will stop, if not for the second phase transition, for the ion spin transition. So due to ion spin transition, it actually gains, well, I said before it gained, sorry, it gained positive bioinsy, and now it gains negative bioinsy. So due to the ion spin transition, actually becomes heavier. So here in the density anomaly, blue means high density, right? So blue means high density, and actually due to the spin transition, it becomes heavier than the surrounding regions, and then it slowly, over the course of tens of millions of years, it goes, it sinks into the low mantle. So here you see that first it stopped in the mid mantle, and then this heavier region became a went further down into the low mantle, right? So you see this interesting structure where it flows from the mid mantle to the low mantle. And there are lots of these features in the simulation. So there are dozens of the, similar features in the simulation, both cold sinking slabs and hot rising plumes. And as you can see, so here I have the two cross sections. One is a cross section in a plane, right? A slice in a plane. And then I also have a slice with a spherical, with a sphere at the core mantle boundary, so the inner boundary of the simulation. And here you see that there are these interesting features. So these are actually hot rising plumes, but they are, you see, they can actually form fairly extended, two-dimensional sheets in some cases. In some cases, they're fairly local, like here. Here they're two-dimensional. And so for the cold sinking slabs, I assume you also can have fairly complicated two-dimensional patterns. So it is your task to inspect these patterns and to come up with first nice visualizations, and then also to visualize, well, to do some additional work to basically do analytics on these features, so cold sinking slabs and hot rising plumes, and how these correlate with the equation of state variables. So the variables that I showed you before. So if I click on data, actually if I click on, let's see, oh, it's just too slow. Yeah, it's loading. I click on data. So there are several equation state variables. So thermal conductivity, thermal expansivity, temperature anomaly, and then spin transition use density anomaly. So how these variables correlated with the flow features you see in 3D. All right. So this is what we want. And I also want to say that, so we hope to have a lot of submissions. And even though the deadline is still, 6.5 months away, end of July, we really hope that people will start working on this early, because there's a lot of science behind this numerical simulation. So we hope that you'll go through through the science description in this website, and then play with the data and try to come up with interesting visualizations that are not just, I load this data into ParaView or Visit, and I visualize it and build some pretty pictures, but try to do some, develop some more complex analytics behind these flow patterns and how they correlate to the equation of state. So we hope to have many submissions at the end of July, and the top submissions, so participants behind the top submissions, will be invited to present at the special scientific visualization session at IEEE Viz in New Orleans. So we still don't know, as I said at the beginning, we don't know whether this is going to be a virtual online conference or an in-person conference, but typically the top winner will be, his registration fees will be covered entirely. And if there's travel involved as well. And then the second and third winner, and perhaps fourth, fifth winner will be invited to present at this session as well. So I think on this I will stop, and I will ask any questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to do so. So once again, the website, I posted it into the, I'll post it again into the chat. Everything that I presented presented today, and everything that you need to know for the competition is on the website. And then if you have any questions, just send me an email. So once again, go to contact. I'm Alex Razumov, and click on my name there and send me an email.
Guillaume may have a question. Yeah, Guillaume.
Yeah, please do. Hi, Guillaume.
It's great. It's very interesting. So all the data, you said it's simulation, right? It's not real observation.
Yes.
Do we know anything about the reality? What's happening under?
Yes. Yeah. So my understanding is, this is not my field, so I'm a computational astrophysicist, but my field is HPC and visualization. So my understanding is that all of these features have been observed in what is called three-dimensional tomography, so seismic images, seismic imaging, right? So especially the cold slabs were observed in, they've been observed for decades in seismic imaging, and it's been a puzzle why they do exist. So yes, a numerical simulation, it actually tries to answer, to explain these observed features. But all of this is described, so if you follow the links, there are links on the front page, there are links to the science papers behind the simulation, and you can read them, but the answer is yes, all of these things are observed, and the simulation is trying to explain them.
So there are ways to measure the temperature. I mean, indirect probably to measure the temperature inside the core. It's amazing.
Yes, my understanding is yes, you can measure it by seismic imaging sound waves, so essentially. Yeah.
Alex, while we wait for more questions, if there are any other, a couple of comments regarding the prizes and awards. My understanding is that usually the winner is also invited to write a paper about the visualization. Is that correct?
Yes. So the prizes, first about the prizes, we'll have some prizes. We don't know yet what the prizes will be. So all I can say is in previous, we had prizes from sponsors. So we have things like SSD drives, and the first prize was usually a 4K monitor. So I don't know exactly what the prizes will be this year. It depends on the sponsors, but we'll have some prizes for sure. So yes, and the top winner will be invited. So the top 4, maybe 5 winners will be invited. So the competition closes end of July, and then for the month of August, we'll be looking at submissions, and then by the end of August, we'll decide on the winning entries. So we'll contact the top 4 or 5 teams, and we'll invite them to present at IEEE Visualization. So what they need to do is to actually write a short paper. So this presentation involves writing a short paper. I mean, it's probably 2 pages usually. So it's a fairly short double-column paper where you describe your technique and the questions you try to answer, and how you answered them. And then I thank you, Marcelo. I forgot to mention it.
Oh, that's fine.
I don't mention the website. I should actually mention it. So yes, the top winner, top winner will be invited to present their submission at the I forgot the name of the journal. So it's a journal. It's a journal where
transitions on visualization or something like that.
Yes, where the proceedings, where the IEEE Visualization Conference proceedings are published, and he'll be invited. Yes, I'll need to add it to the website.
It's a very well-known journal in the field of visualization. So I think that's a very, very interesting add-on to the prices, because you put your name with a DOI and everything, right? It's like a publication sort of.
Oh yes, and so I don't want you to feel pressure that you have to present, at the conference and submit a paper. You actually don't have to. You can still submit visualizations, and we'll invite you. So this will be invitations. You'll be So if you win the contest, we'll invite you to submit. To present at the conference and to submit the paper, but you don't have to. I mean, but then again, if you have beautiful work, if you've done created beautiful visualization and did some work, then you can actually publish it, right? So it's a chance for you to publish in a scientific journal. So
the other thing, I don't know, Alex, if there is any consensus about this yet, but in the past, at least in our competitions, we have suggested or required somehow to use open source tools, but also to submit your visualization pipelines. So
so this year it's slightly different. So I went through the rules of IEEE, because now officially it's an IEEE contest. They don't specify open source rules explicitly. I think in general it's understood that it's open source, but I've seen submissions where people coded something in C++, let's say, and whatever they coded is not exactly open source. So we don't really stipulate this rule, but of course the understanding usually we are interested in visualizations that other people can recreate. So it's not your private, let's say C++ code using OpenGL or something where nobody else can do the same. So we're interested in ideas and techniques that other people can use, right? So for that reason, we encourage. I should probably add it to the website.
Yeah.
We encourage people
to. In the first or second competition we host, we had actually, I think it was the winner. He was using his own techniques and package development, but it was something proprietary. I don't know if it was open ever.
Well, he was planning at the time in 2016. He was planning to open it up. It was OpenGL C++ code, yes.
Right.
And he was planning to publish it. I'm not sure if it's public now or not. I don't know. I didn't follow
But I think in the after that, we started to give some points to people using like open source tools and open source pipelines, right? I'm not sure if we're going to do this time around, but something to consider, I would say.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right. Any questions? So yeah, so it's really easy to get started playing with this data. Just download the data, and you can open it, in let's say ParaView. And so here, the movie I created, this movie is really easy to make. Basically, you just load the data and you display. So here I display I believe it's the temperature field. And then what I do is I apply a clip filter. So I apply a clip filter, and for the clip surface, I use a cube, right? So I have a sphere, and then a cube is clipping that sphere. So you actually have this nice segment looking into the mantle, right? This is really easy to do. This is just, if you know ParaView, this is, it will take me maybe 5 minutes to create this visualization from scratch.
And then
but once again, yeah, we're looking for something beyond this. So not just pretty pictures, but really understanding of the data and understanding of the science behind the data.
And then you see the vector fields on the horizontal plane, something like that. Yeah. Any suggestion? You have been playing with the data more than anyone here, I believe. So any suggestions of what to look at? What could be some interesting features to see?
Well, yeah. So it's all described here, it's all described here in tasks. Yeah. So if you read through these, you will get a good understanding of what we're looking for. So we're looking for basically these features. So the cold slabs, the descending cold slabs, and then the rising hot plumes, and how these evolve in 3D, right? And then how these correlate with the other variables. So with the equation of state variables. So basically, I would call it analytics of cold slabs and hot plumes, right? So not just visualization, but try to create something that is unique to this particular scientific problem.
I think we have a question in the chat. It says, do you know the solver generated the data?
So there are links in the science paper. So if you go to the front page, there will be links to the science, and you'll find the answer there. I don't remember. It's a code. I don't remember which code was used and which equation of state, but everything is described in these papers. So.
One final question from my side, at least, with respect to the submissions, Alex. Are we just expecting participants to submit the final product, or they will submit a summary, description of what they did?
Yes, we want. Yeah, so so we want to have some description of what you've done, and so the final product, some description and your technique. So if it's if it's a Python code, then send us a Python code, or perhaps it's a ParaView state file, or so ideally we would like to reproduce your visualization, right? On our end.
Should add something to the website, right?
Yes, so there will be more details here. So right now it's empty, so it says details will provide shortly, and so these guidelines, it's coming from IEEE, so they're still being discussed, but we'll publish these in the next few months for sure. Yeah. So
cool. All right. Thank you so much, Alex. I think you covered almost everything.
Sure, no problem.
Let me see. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, so the important thing, as I said at the beginning, is that if you want to see the announcements about these contests in your mailbox, then please send me an email. So Alex Razumov sent me an email, and then I will add you to the private Google group, and then all discussions, and so we'll see the discussions there. So if somebody asks a question, for example, then everybody else inside the Google group will see the answers.
Cool. All right. Okay, thank you so much, Alex. That was really informative. We know you had to go, so we don't want to hold you more. But as Alex mentioned, if anyone has a question, feel free to email him. Probably he's the best to reach regarding this competition.
All right, thank you, Marcelo.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We will see you probably on January. If we don't see you again, happy holidays and enjoy your break. Bye, Alex. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.